Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Arctic Pauper Show. I am your host Arctic Ghost, and this week I figured I'd bring you this red-green kind of aggro style blitz deck that I wanted to bring you a while ago when Burning Tree Emissary got reprinted in Modern Masters, but I had a bunch of other decks I wanted to bring you instead. So this is basically just a red-green aggro deck. It's kind of fun. The benefit for this over something like Stompy is you get a slightly faster, more powerful creatures. You get Horn Kavu, which can't be bolted. You still get to keep the Burning Tree Emissary, of course. You get Bolt and Curd Ape for more 1-mana 2/3s and things like that. You know, it doesn't really have any, clear reasons why you should play this over Stompy. Or any clear reasons why you should play this over Red Deck Wins, of course, because the fact of the matter is, because those two decks are monocolored, they're going to be able to cast their spells more reliably. The difference here is that you get a combination of the red and green spells, so if you get the curve out right, you can sometimes actually finish people off a little bit quicker, or you can have some reach with Lightning Bolt. You also get some good sideboard cards, but, be that as it may. Let's just go ahead and break the deck down piece by piece. We'll just go into it. So, the meta base is as straightforward as you can get. You have 3 Ash Barrens and Terramorphic Expanse as your fetch lands. I think it's probably better to have 4 Ash Barrens and to just have one of each more basic in the deck. But the fact of the matter is Ash Barrens is quite expensive, and I think this is the setup that most people will use, especially if they are more on a budget and can't really afford to buy the Ash Barrens. So this is kind of the configuration I think you want to go with. It's been pretty consistent. So the reason why I don't like Terramorphic Expanse is because you can't use it to cast a turn 1 spell, and the thing about Ash Barrens is that the land you get with it, it's a trade-off because it actually comes into play on tap, so that's kind of the point. Next up are the 1-mana spells. You have 4 Rancors, because of course Rancor is just really, really good. It turns any one of your creatures into beat sticks with trample, and also if it goes to the graveyard from the battlefield, of course it always has that clause that comes back to your hand. Bone Splitter is basically Rancor number 5 through 6. Whether or not you should have a burn spell in place of Bone Splitter remains to be seen from what I've tested. The thing about Bone Splitter is making your creatures bigger in a way is better, especially when you're looking at things like Skargan Pitskulk or Horn Kavu or even Curd Ape. But it might be better to only have 1 Bone Splitter and then have just another burn spell like one of Chain Lightning or something, just to have another bolt. Looking at the 1-mana creatures, you have Curd Ape, of course. For those of you who maybe don't know what Bone Splitter is Bone Splitter. It's pretty straightforward. This is Curd Ape. Curd Ape, it's pretty good. Has been since the dawn of Magic's time. Just a good 1-mana 2/3. Dies to Bolt. Apparently Overwatch has started an update. That's fun. It dies to Bolt, but still it's a good beat stick. It's bigger than most 1-drops you're going to run into. Sometimes even most 2-drops. That's why, of course, Skyfisher is so good, because it flies as well. You have Skargan Pitskulk, because, with Rancor and Bone Splitter, this card's just nuts, and also having 1-mana 2/2 that can't be blocked by tokens, or things like Thorn of the Black Rose, Kumbaj Witches, Young Wolf before it gets the +1/+1 counter. It makes it pretty good. You don't have a lot of pump spells in this deck, of course, really any, to take advantage of him, but you do have Rancor and Bone Splitter, which is usually more than enough. You also have Young Wolf. The reason why this creature is so good is because Overwatch is apparently now playable. That's not really the reason, though. The reason why is because it takes 2 removal spells to really get rid of this thing. And with Rancor and Bone Splitter, you're going to force your opponent to have to remove it, and then they have to remove it again, and when it comes back, it's even better because it's slightly bigger. So that's really why Young Wolf is so good. It's also really good against Edict effects, and I think we all know how popular Chainer's Edict is. Then you have Wild Nikado. This is basically the Nettle Sentinel of the deck. This is just strictly better than Nettle Sentinel in this deck because, well, first of all, you don't have many green spells to untap this thing every turn. And also, it's just a 1-mana 2/2. That's all it's there for. It's just a 1-mana 2/2, which is more than enough when you really think about it. That's really all you need. If I could play 4 more Curd Apes in this deck, I would, but sadly they don't exist at the common level. Looking at your 2-drop slot, you have 4 Jund Hackblade. This is the combo with Burning Tree Emissary, because this is a multicolored creature, so as long as I control another multicolored permanent, it gets ++1. And it gains haste, which is the big thing. It gains haste. Then, of course, you have Burning Tree Emissary, because it's Burning Tree Emissary. It's a 2-mana 2/2 that allows you to cast multiple spells. Being able to go this on turn 2 and go 1-drop and 1-drop, or 1-drop and kill something, or Rancor and 1-drop, or Rancor and kill something, it's pretty darn stupid. Especially because you can go Emissary, Hackblade, all of a sudden your opponent's at 17, and you have 7 damage on the board that's ready to come at your opponent's face. So it's pretty stupid. Then you have Horned Kavu. Horned Kavu is not the greatest creature, because if you top deck it when you have an empty board, you have to return it. You have to return a red or green creature. So it might be a big turnoff, but the thing is that when you get to go Emissary into Horned Kavu, or even when you get to go Horned Kavu reset Young Wolf, or Horned Kavu return Skarg and Pit Skull when it doesn't have +1/+1 counter on it, so you can do it again. You know, there are times where this creature is one of, if not the best creature in your deck, because it can't be bolted. And there are times where it's literally the worst creature in your deck because you have no creatures in play already. So it's kind of a trade-off. It's really a coin flip on whether or not it's good. And then you have 2 Rip Clan Crasher as just basically Jund Hackblade 5/6. You just want a couple of extra haste creatures. That's really all it is. So the deck is pretty much stock. I don't remember the name of the person who 5-0'd with this deck. It was such a long time ago. I apologize. If you happen to come across my videos or anything like that, feel free to give yourself a shout out. I will gladly thank you for the deck. I don't think I've changed anything. I think this is still the base deck of what that person played, so it'll be interesting. So far, my testing has been kind of 50-50 with it. I've been good and I've been bad, so it is what it is. Oh, I forgot to say Lightning Bolt. You know why this is in the deck. I'm just not even going to bother. It's Lightning Bolt. Everybody knows what Lightning Bolt does. For those of you who don't know what Lightning Bolt does, it's 1 mana, instant, 3 damage to a target. That's basically what it is. And then, of course, in the sideboard, you have 3 River Boa against blue decks, or even if just the regeneration is good, like against removal-heavy decks. Pyroblast against blue decks, because Delver can, you know, be a pain in the butt. 2 Gleeful Sabotage against artifacts or enchantments. You might want a third one, but you have 2 Gorilla Shaman against Affinity. Affinity is not a good matchup for this deck. All of their creatures are bigger than yours. They can gain way more card advantage than you can, and they can play the control game pretty easily. So it's really not the best matchup in the world. So you definitely need a way to beat Affinity. If you're more budget, of course, Gorilla Shaman is not up your alley. So you might want more Gleeful Sabotages, or you might want Flame Slash is probably your next best bet. Let's keep that in mind. Then you have Vines of Vastwood. Vines of Vastwood's pretty great, because for 2 green mana, which is not hard to achieve in this deck, you get a really good pump spell, but also it's a counter spell, which is a big thing. Removal is the worst thing you could see with this deck, because it does not live well off the top. Unlike red deck wins, you don't have a lot of burn, and unlike Stompy, you have 21 lands, not 16, so you're 5 less spells. And you don't have a lot of pump spells to win the game quickly. So Vines of Vastwood, of course, is a great spell just for being a counter spell. And then, of course, you have Electrickery. Just against tokens, against fairies, really anything that's 1 toughness based. So that's the deck. It's basically the stock version from when I found it. We're going to run it through a couple test matches, see how it runs, see how I feel about it, and we'll see if you like it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back for match number 1. Stay tuned.